Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Rabbi.
We're learning Mishna Kesubos, Parak Test, Chapter 9, Mishnah Ches, Mishnah 8. We began it yesterday, so we'll just quickly read from the beginning. Hapagemis Ksubasa, a woman who reduces her ksuba, was an example mentioned in the previous Mishnah of a woman who can only get payment for her ksuba by making a shua, making an oath. Ketzad, what's the case? Haisa Ksubasa of Zuz. Her ksuba was worth 1,000 zuz. V'amar la, and he said to her, meaning her husband said to her when she demanded it, his kabat ksuba seich, already received your ksuba. V'yomeres, and she says, lo his kabalti elamana, I only received a mana. You still owe me more. She can only get paid the rest if she makes an oath. Next case, if one witness testifies that it was already paid. Ketzad, what's the case? Her ksuba was worth 1,000 zuz, and he said to her, he's kabalt ksuba seich, you've already received your ksuba, you already received payment for your ksuba. And she says, lo his kabalti, I did not receive it. And you have one witness testifying that it was paid. Again, she can only be paid if she makes an oath. The third case is where she's collecting from sold property that her husband sold while they were married, and now she comes for payment for ksuba, and the only thing to collect from are those properties that already were sold. Kate said, what's the case? He sold his properties to others, again, during their marriage. And she is getting paid from the buyers because there's no other property from which to collect her ksuba from the husband. She will only be paid if she makes a shvua. She could only now take the property that was sold from the buyer if she makes an oath. Okay, this is where we got to yesterday, and now we continue more. The fourth case mentioned before was she was collecting her ksuba from the property of the orphans, meaning of the heirs. Ketzad, what's the case? Mace, the husband died. And he left his properties to orphans, meaning his heirs. Now she's coming to get paid from those orphans. And actually just, these orphans that we're talking about here are not necessarily children. They could even be adults. But the point is that they're his heirs. And we say, she can only be paid if she makes an oath. Now, if the husband would have been alive and she would have come and say, give me my ksuba, he could have said, I paid you already, and you could only take payment if you swear. That's what he could have said. His children, his heirs, whoever they are, do not necessarily know about this. They don't know if she was paid or not. So they can't demand an oath from her. But we do it instead. We, in place of the orphans, will demand an oath from her before she can be paid. The same way if she was demanding from her husband if he was alive, he could demand from her an oath. The orphans don't have the power to demand an oath because they don't know what happened beforehand. But we go ahead and we as the sages, the Bezdin, we will make that claim for her. We will demand an oath from her before she could go ahead and collect. Because again, these heirs don't know what went on in their father's lifetime with his with payments and things like that, and therefore we demand a payment from her when she comes to collect. That's the fourth case. And the fifth case is v'shalei b'fanav, where she was collecting not in his presence. Ketzad, how is that? He went to a far off country. He's gone far off. He's not coming back for a while, and she wants her payment. V'hi nefra shalei b'fanav. And she's going to be paid not in his presence, which can happen. She has to wait for him to come back from who knows where. She can go ahead and she can get paid. However, in nefras ela b'shvua, she can only be paid if she makes an oath. If he would have been here, he could have demanded an oath before she gets paid her ksuba, so to swear that she wasn't paid before. So when he's not here, we make that claim for him, and therefore she cannot get paid her ksuba. She cannot collect her ksuba unless she makes an oath, in this case where the husband was not around. So this is the end of this discussion about the cases where she has to make an oath, she has to make a shvua before she can collect her ksuba. Now the Mishnah is going to go back to what was learned previously. So for a quick introduction, if a woman, what we learned previously, if a woman is put in charge of her husband's business and he suspects that she stole from him, he can make her swear that she did not steal. Remember that? We had that before. He gave her, she's running his business. The same way he can demand from anybody running his business a oath that he's not stealing, he can do the same thing to his wife. B, if a husband makes a formal commitment that his heirs will not be able to make her swear, right? We had that also. He makes a formal commitment that he can make her swear, his heirs can make her swear, any of the oaths that we just said before about the heirs demanding from her, he can make it that they can't demand it. So we learned before, she does not have to swear when she collects her ksuba from them. If he makes this stipulation that he nor his heirs can demand an oath from her if she wants to collect her ksuba, we learned previously that at the end of the day, then they cannot demand, there will not be any kind of oath to them when she wants to collect her ksuba. So now we have an opinion that argues on both of those laws that we learned before. Reb Shimon says, Kol zman shi toivas ksubasa. Anytime this woman demands her ksuba, hayarshin mashbiyan oisa. The heirs are able to ask to demand a shvua. That means that even in a case where the husband stipulated beforehand that he and his heirs cannot demand any kind of oath from them, Reb Shimon says it doesn't work. When the sages instituted on behalf of the orphans, on behalf of the heirs, that she has to swear before she takes collection, that is something that we instituted on their behalf, and therefore, even if the husband officially exempted her from making any kind of oath to them, they can still say, yes, we want an oath. And it makes no difference what he stipulated beforehand. That's the first thing that Shimon argues about. Now, in a case where she's not demanding her ksuba, there the heirs cannot make her swear. So what does it mean, when she's not demanding her ksuba? That means we're going back to the case before where she was running his business or she was running his estate, and he was able to go ahead and demand an oath from her that she's not stealing. Says Reb Shimon that in that case, the heirs cannot make her swear, which means they would not be able to demand an oath that she didn't steal anything when she was running their father's business. Because, according to Reb Shimon, there's no such thing. You cannot make a woman have to swear to that. And actually, as the commentaries explain, this, what Reb Shimon says, is not only relevant to the heirs, it's relevant to the husband himself. Not only do we say the heirs can't demand an oath, the husband himself also can't, according to Reb Shimon. We had before, the husband, either he can demand an oath from her to say that she's not stealing from his business. And when he's making her swear that she's not stealing from his business, according to one opinion, through the power of Gilgal Shvua, you can attach more to the oath and say, make sure she's not stealing from the house either. And then we had another opinion that said, you can even directly make her swear that she's not stealing anything in the house. Says Reb Shimon, you cannot make your wife swear about when she's your wife, you cannot make her swear about the ongoings that she takes care of. She takes care of the business. She takes care of the house. You cannot make her swear. The only reason why in our Mishnah, Shimon talked about the heirs is because in the first half, that's what he's talking about. The first part of what he says is relevant, is exactly talking about the heirs. That even though the husband had said in his lifetime that the heirs can't demand an oath from her, that Shimon says the heirs could. And once he was talking about the Yarshim, the heirs, therefore, in this part also, when it's not talking about collecting a ksuba, it's talking about making an oath about the business that she ran for him. So he spoke about, the Tan Reb Shimon also mentioned the heirs. Because he spoke about the heirs in the first part, he mentioned the heirs he talked about the heirs in the second part. But it's not just relevant to the heirs; it is relevant to the husband himself. According to Shimon, the husband himself cannot demand any kind of oath from her regarding the business she ran for him or any of the household chores that she did for him. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Rabbi. All right.